So I'm going to get started, going to share my screen and go through everything. All right, here we go. So the goal, so protein is, there's three macronutrients. Protein is one of them. And they're all important in their own ways. But I find the other two are really easy to get in your day to day. So that's why protein it deserves a special focus. All right. So the goal for today is to make you feel confident into knowing what protein is, how to get it, why it matters for fat loss, building muscle, speeding up the metabolism, and most importantly is maybe giving you some tips or tricks on how to get it in more consistently. Because if you have one day of high protein, it's not really going to matter all that much in the grand scheme of things. So, what is protein? Why is it so important? So, protein are the building blocks of the body. Imagine trying to build a house and you don't have any foundation materials to get started. That's the way I kind of like to compare protein to. So, protein is responsible for helping you grow the lean muscle and support a roaring metabolism. And the cool thing about having more lean muscle on your body is your body's going to burn more calories at rest. Now, I know if you go on online and you type in how much exactly, the number seems really, really low. But it's a very small, controlled environment and a very tunnel visioned approach on exactly what's going on. It's in a very controlled manner. There's a lot more overarching effects that are going to happen the more lean muscle you have. You're going to be more active. You're going to be stronger, so your muscles are going to work harder. So there's a lot of like snowball effects of having more muscle than just the muscle burning, whatever it says, like 20 calories per extra pound of muscle. But either way, basically the more lean muscle you have, the better chances are of you having a faster metabolism without having to do anything besides, eat to fuel it and train. Protein also has a higher TEF, so thermic effective feeding. So you might have heard about NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And that's basically just kind of you doing like little finger twitches, foot bounces, things you don't really think about. Another way that we burn calories is the thermic effective feeding, and protein actually is the highest out of all three macronutrients. About 20 to 30% of protein actually gets expended, so burned off, in order to process it. So just use an example of 100 calories of protein. You're going to absorb about 80 calories of that. Let's just use that as a way to think about it. Also, it's going to help stabilize blood sugar. This is really, really important because that's going to help stop that mid-morning or afternoon crash. That is super, super prevalent. It happens all the time. It used to happen to me all the time as well. I had no idea what was going on. And the general go-to is, well, I'll just have I'll have some more caffeine. I'll have an energy drink, or I'll have some coffee to cover that up. And that's a whole different topic, a whole nother vicious cycle. And so the other thing too, a lot of people are going to reach for, because you're going to feel kind of down. And without thinking about it, you're going to want to reach for something that's going to make you feel good. And more than likely, that's going to be, if you're in the office, that's probably going to be some baked good that Susie over in accounting brought in because she wants to be nice for the office. Or maybe it's your kids' treats on the high shelf, and you just go in there and you kind of go to town because you're looking for that pick me up. It's also, protein is very, very satisfying. So when you're hitting your protein quota for the day, you're going to be a lot more satiated. You're going to be overall a lot more full. You're not going to be craving as much just because protein takes so much to digest. Back to it. So yes, as I was saying, protein is very satisfying. Your snacking is going to go down because protein itself is very filling. And this is very good because snacking is one of those ways that we tend to overeat. We generally don't sit down and have a whole, pint of ice cream or anything like that. It's usually the little things throughout the day. Like you're going by and you just take a couple chips out of the bag, or maybe you got like little snack candies or something like that. You just go and you just have one of those. That tends to stop when someone starts hitting their proper protein amount. One of the biggest barriers I found people run into most is it requires you to think ahead, which makes it very hard when you're short on time. So if you're short on time, it's going to be really hard to just come up with a protein source. You're going to have to make it. And I saw this funny meme, and the meme was basically like this guy opens up the fridge, and that moment when all the food in your house has to be cooked, and he basically starts like crying. So that's kind of how it feels. We want to make sure that we're starting every single meal with a focus on protein. So protein requires you to plan ahead. The fats and carbs are easy to come by. Every meal, I want you to think about what is the protein. Again, since fats and carbs are easy to come by, the focus is around protein. And this could look like, let's say you're planning out your meals. We talked about that a little bit. And each day you want a different main protein source. So you're going to have a meal that's focused around beef, or maybe you're going to have a meal that's focused around fish or chicken or what have you. But protein is where it starts, and then you find what fits with that after. And we talked about it being a little harder to get on demand protein sources. So protein-rich snacks are available, should be available. Things like hard-boiled eggs, low-fat cheese slices, turkey ham roll-ups, jerky, canned tuna, or chicken, or edamame. These are really easy ways to have ready to go and can be whipped up or prepared ahead of time. Except for me, obviously, like canned tuna and chicken. That's not, it's already kind of prepared. But yeah. And maybe you could have a snack place with some of the above, plus fruit and veggies as a quick no-cook dinner. So literally just like one of those like snack platters. That's a nice quick throw together thing for like a no-cook dinner. Chili, stews, and casseroles are your best friends when it comes to protein. They make a ton of leftovers, and they can be most of them can be frozen for convenience. There's a few different things that you don't want to freeze, like sour cream for one. I know it's like common with certain chilies, but there's certain things you don't want to freeze. But most of the time, you can just throw it in there and freeze it, and then just reheat it later, which makes it super convenient. Batch cooking your proteins ahead of time can really save you a lot of hassle. And basically what batch cooking is, it's a form of meal prep where you're not doing like a whole meal. You're just doing, it's usually done with like your carbs or your proteins. So maybe you're cooking a whole bunch of scrambled beef or turkey ahead of time, or maybe you're not even cooking like scrambled meat. Maybe you're actually cooking an extra piece of chicken, and this can go as like an extra on top of what you're already having. And that's a nice little way to bump up what you're eating right there. So this is what I'm actually doing tonight, for instance. I'm having lentil soup tonight, and lentils do have some protein in it. Kind of mentioned that right here, a side of lentil. But as for like a main protein source for me and my personal needs, it doesn't hit the mark. So I have a little extra of scrambled turkey. So I'm gonna have that as a little extra protein bump, and then just enjoy the lentil soup as is. And that way I make sure that I'm getting enough protein in my day. And that's for me batch cooking some of the protein ahead of time, just kind of having it in the fridge for those times when I know I don't want to have to cook anything. I would rather just reheat it. I get this great like barbecue sauce that I'll throw on if I'm throwing it, just heating it up. That's a nice, real easy way to get your protein in. Protein powders can be a great way to fill the gaps. So we don't want to go after protein powders, or especially bars. Protein powders probably the best source, but those shouldn't be the go-to. But they are a great way to fill the gaps if you are struggling. It's much better to use them to hit your protein target than to miss and not not fill that because you didn't want to use a protein powder. Protein powders can be a great way to also hit a sweet tooth if you're really itching for that. It's a nice great way to have some protein packed treats. One of which, this was a guilty pleasure of mine, which is the Magic Spoon cereal. Is a delicious treat. Basically what that is, I don't know how they did it, but it's basically a cereal where for one serving is 13 grams of protein, I believe, and most cereals are pretty much all carb. There's like 2 grams of protein. So this cereal, much, much different. And it is going to be more expensive, but that's because you're paying for the protein and not the carbs. Corn is extremely cheap to make, and so is sugar. To put it in there, so that's why there's a big price difference. So this is not a cheap option, but it is a delicious option if you can afford it. So those are my notes for this, and I wanted to show you guys as well this. Let's see. So stop this share, so that's not going to continue sharing. There you go. Share my Canva. So I can print this off in a PDF, and I can send this to you guys. So Ultimate Protein Handbook. So we're going to touch on some of the things about what is protein and why it's beneficial. And then we got all these different sources. This is supposed to be here. Yep. So these are the different protein sources. Show a little examples right here. Some little hints as well with these benefits. And then this one too, this is super important for just kind of getting a general idea of how much protein you should be having. And protein is one of those things where even if we're not tracking all of our calories and our macros, just tracking your protein can be a great intro into that. And it goes a very long way into making sure that you're hitting your target. Because again, protein is very hard to get. And once you fall behind, if it's late at night, you don't want to have a ton of protein late at night because it generally, especially if you're not used to having it, it can sit a little heavy. So knowing a general range can be very good if you're ready to take the leap from just kind of eating. Maybe you're taking photos of your food and using that. And then that's a great way to start tracking and being a little bit more maybe meticulous. Got some tips here. And then serving size and protein scale. So I don't like to use like good and bad food because it gives food morality. And it's kind of a slippery slope. It can tend to turn into something maybe a little too harmful. So we're going to use this right here, eat less to eat more. This is what we want to focus on. And then some of the time, and then these, we generally, and when we're talking about protein, we generally don't want to be having these on like a daily basis. Every now and then, again, not too big of a deal. But this is what we're trying to avoid if we can opt in for the green category here. And for protein servings, most people's palms, so this little picture, most people's palms are going to be about 20 to 30 grams of protein, depending on the size of your palm. So if someone's a 5'1" woman who weighs like 125 pounds is obviously going to have a much smaller hand than someone who is 6'7", 300 pounds. So that's why we got that range. And then, so these are all links. These are all links to different recipes in here. So to give you some ideas, so a little different each one. So I love tacos, some freezer burritos here. Instant Pot's amazing. Again, I mentioned like the stews and chili. So it's chili here. Greek yogurt bowl. I have that every morning. It's amazing. And then this is the link to that cereal. No affiliate. It's just I love the product and I have it whenever I can. So yeah, that's the guide right there. And that's everything. So that concludes the protein masterclass. I hope you found this helpful. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions or something you would like to see in the future.